Hello everyone. It has been a while since we talked about the Reliance, and last night Indian government reduced the windfall tax. So first let's see those in detail and then we'll discuss about our regular pre-market stuff. First of all, after Jio Financial demerger, so far Reliance dropped over 5%. This is mainly due to their drop in Singapore GRM gross refining margin. Usually Singapore GRM is in the range of 9 to 10 US dollars per barrel, but now the spreads reduced in most products. Spread means it's the technical word used for the measures of difference between the purchase price of crude oil and the selling price of finished products such as gasoline and diesel, etc. So in Reliance GRM, diesel spread dropped 5% week on week due to Russian export policy changes. Gasoline spread also fell by 4% week on week, influenced by reduced European Union and US demand. Because of all those, at present Singapore GRM dropped to 4.9 US dollars per barrel. So you may ask why I'm telling all this. In future, if we had the info or news about increased demand of gasoline in Europe or US, then that will improve the Reliance GRM. If anybody is a trader in Reliance Industries, then that person has to keep a tab on gasoline inventories and demand in Europe and US, so we can have slight advantage. Just for info, biggest Japanese investment firm Nomura, they released the report that Reliance is going to get benefit from this, expecting stability in the oil sector, and also they upgraded the Reliance stock to the buy rating yesterday. And one more interesting info they said was, every $1 increase in GRM will increase the Reliance EBITDA by 2% and earnings per share by 4%. So that much this GRM will play a role in Reliance stock. Anyway, coming to last night, Indian government once again reduced the windfall tax marginally. As a petroleum product, earlier the windfall tax was around 12,100 rupees per ton. Now that reduced to 9,050 rupees per ton. Similarly, for aviation turbine fuel, the tax is reduced to just 1 rupees per liter from 2.5 rupees per liter earlier. In case of diesel, to 4 rupees per liter from 5 rupees per liter. So they did reduce roughly 20 to 30%. Let's see how market is reacting to all this. Then coming to US, before their market opening, US Census Bureau released the retail sales data for September. On month-on-month basis, core retail sales increased by 0.6% and whole retail sales increased by 0.7%. Here, in both the case, it is almost double the times what market expected. However, it was less compared to August month. Now, because of this good data, major indexes in US market opened negative because of the rate hike fear. This fear also increased the 2-year bond yield value to 17-year fresh new high. Here we know last whole week, one after one, every day FOMC members raised the concerns about the bond yield increase. So for the first time, increase in bond yield favors the stock market and all the major index trimmed their losses. In the end, Dow Jones closed flat, or we can say it increased marginally 0.04%. S&P 500 closed near absolute flat and Nasdaq decreased by 0.25%. However, VIX increased and moved to 18 from 17. Here, Nasdaq was the only significant negative. That's true because of the drop in semiconductor stocks, as US government made an additional ban in exporting semiconductor chip to China, which indeed crashed the Nvidia to over 4%. On the other hand, market just reacted to the US bank's quarterly results. For example, Bank of America beats the analyst estimation, so it traded more than 2% positive, whereas Goldman Sachs profit dropped over 33%, so it closed negative 1.5%. Regarding oil, there is a sudden trip planned by US President to Saudi Arabia to discuss about this oil production cut issue and other geopolitical things. So that increased the oil price by around 1%. At the time of this video, Brent crude oil trading near 91 US dollars per barrel and WTI crude oil trading near 86.5 US dollars per barrel. Regarding Indian ADR in US market, it's too more of a balanced one and in line with Indian market. Only Infosys closed positive. About HDFC Bank on Monday night in US, it increased over 2%. However, on Indian market yesterday, it increased only below 1%. more of a 0.5%. So I think as a arbitrage last night it dropped 1%. Then in case of ICICI Bank, RBI announced the penalty on ICICI Bank and Kotak Bank due to the rule violation. Again, here the fine amount is not that big, but for similar scenario in olden days, market did reacted aggressively. Anyway, last night both ICICI Bank and Wipro closed 0.5% negative. Just for info, today in the aftermarket hours, Wipro is going to release its quarterly results. Revenue expects to contract sequentially 0.1%. However, EBITDA margin and net profit expect to increase marginally. Let's see. About GIFT Nifty, at 3 a.m. Indian Standard Time, it closed at 19,805. For the moment, it's indicating flat to the gap down opening of 25 points. So that's what happened on global market. Now moving on to the stock specific. First, yesterday in the aftermarket hours, Bajaj Finance released their earnings. Regarding that, their revenue increased by 34% and their profit up by 28%. In both the case, it's year-on-year basis and mostly in line with the expectation. So no surprise here. Similarly, L&T also released their earnings in the aftermarket hours. Here, their revenue and profit on sequentially increased 3.7% and 1.21% respectively, which is good. However, on the negative side, earlier they gave the guidance of 20% revenue increase for full financial year, but now they reduced that to 17.5 to 18.5% on year-on-year basis. Second, Dabur India and M&M both got some issue with income tax department, so we can expect market to react for that. Third, Morgan Stanley upgraded the DMart stock to buy rating, which we can consider positive for that stock. Finally, about institution, yesterday both FII and DII were net buyers. FII net bought for 260 crore rupees while DII net bought for 110 crore rupees. As a summary, US market closed more of a flat, but still there are some weakness in Indian Bank's ADR and GIFT Nifty is indicating flat to 25 points gap down opening. However, Reliance looks positive. Let's see. Then, as per stock open interest, Havells India, L&T, Emphasis, Dalmia Bharat and Bandhan Bank got an increase in open interest along with a negative close, indicates the short build-up. On the other hand, Apollo Tyres, Exide Industries, MRF and L&T Finance got an increase in open interest with a positive price close, which means these stocks got the long build-up. Then about the things to look out, Wipro, IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Auto, Bandhan Bank and ICICI Lombard Insurance are some of the major Indian companies' earnings results are scheduled released today. And in US, tonight, Tesla and Netflix results are due. In terms of macro, before the market opening, lots and lots of Chinese macro data such as GDP, industrial growth rate and China retail sales data are due. Then, during the market hours at 11:30, UK's inflation is due to release. Here, this is important since at present, UK is the only major country in G7 and OECD that got the inflation of over 6.5%. And at 2:30 p.m., Europe's inflation is scheduled to release. Here, the expectation is to come 4.3%. Finally, in the aftermarket hours, various US crude oil inventories and housing stats are the items we need to look out. Coming to technical, gap up opening yesterday, which offsets all the losses that Nifty had in the past 3 days, indicates an optimism over the ongoing Q2 earnings despite concerns about the Middle East and subdued earnings from IT sector. Thus, on the daily chart, Nifty broke the inside bar pattern on the upside, which shows the bullish implications. At present, both daily and hourly momentum indicator has a positive crossover and also Nifty is on the verge of giving a breakout from the continuation pattern known as cup and handle formation. Here, 19,850 level is the breakout point and that's the exact point yesterday Nifty faced the tough resistance. So, as long as Nifty is above 19,700, buy on dip strategy is the preferred one for me. On the upside, if Nifty manages to fill the bearish gap of September 21 and sustains above 90,900, then it is likely to continue its rally potentially towards 20,030. On the downside, the key hourly moving averages placed in the range 19,770 to 19,750 can likely to act as a support in case of a dip. Then in case of Bank Nifty, it opened gap up, however, it was unable to capitalize and and there was a persistent struggle between the buyers and sellers, and thus yesterday it corrected. This signifies the ongoing uncertainty and indecision among the market participants, and currently Bank Nifty is stuck within the trading range with support around 44,000 and resistance at 45,000. This range bound movement suggests a lack of a clear sustained trend in either direction. Despite the sideways trading range, the overall sentiment within this range remains bullish. Investors are inclined to use dips in the market as buying opportunities, reflecting confidence in the potential for upward movement. So, expecting the pullback in Bank Nifty 45,000 from short-term perspective. On the downside, 44,100 to 44,000 might act as a crucial support. On the options front, the maximum call option open interest was at 20,000 strike, followed by 19,800 and 90,900 strikes, with a new call rating at 20,000 strike, then 19,900 strike. Hence, it indicates Nifty may face a resistance at 20,000 mark. On the put side, the maximum put option open interest was at 19,700 strike, followed by 19,600 strike and 19,800 strike, with new put option rating at 19,800 strike, then 19,500 strike. Therefore, the support is at 19,700 to 19,600 area, and 19,800 remains crucial for a move on either side of the trade. So that's all in this video. Hope you all got some useful information. Please consider subscribing the channel and liking the video, so it will help me beat the YouTube algorithm and also motivate me to do more. Please don't make any investment based on this, as I'm not a SEBI registered advisor. I'm doing this for my and viewers' educational purpose only. Thanks for watching.